Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and in today's reading vlog, I am reading your 5-star book predictions, because why would I read my own 5-star book predictions? I actually was supposed to do a vlog at some point reading my own 5-star predictions, but I never got around to it. I need to circle back to that, honestly, because there's some books that I really want to read on my TBR that I think are going to be 5-star reads. But I almost feel like going into a vlog with that concept, with my own 5-star predictions, just feels really pressuring, because like, what if I don't end up rating them a 5 out of 5 stars? I don't know, I just feel like I'm intimidated. I feel like I'm putting these specific expectations on these books. And what happens if those expectations aren't met? So instead today, I'm going to be reading your 5-star book predictions. I went over on my community tab here on YouTube, asked you guys to submit books that you think you would give a 5-star rating. I'm going to be going through the comments and seeing if I have any that are on my physical TBR, and I'm going to be reading them and sharing if I think that they are 5-star worthy or not. Obviously, there's a chance though that our reader preferences are not the same, so go into this video with a grain of salt. If I read these books and end up not giving them a 5-star rating, it doesn't mean that you won't give it a 5-star rating. It just means that our preferences might not align. The first comment comes from Lost in Prose, who is somebody who has been around my channel for a while now. I recognize their name. We interact often in the comments section, so thanks for being here. Thanks for your submission. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for quite some time now, so I'm excited to have it be bumped up my TBR. I actually watched a show that had Richard Osman on it a while back. It's a really funny show called Taskmaster, where all these comedians get together and they have to do tasks and by the end of it one of them becomes like the taskmaster. Obviously it's like really silly, all the things that they do to complete these tasks. Anyway, I'm excited to read a book by him. I feel like his humor could cross over into this and that excites me, but obviously it's a murder mystery situation, so I feel like there's going to be a bit of seriousness added as well, so I'm interested to see that balance come through within this book. This book takes place in a retirement home and we follow 4 unlikely friends who have come together, and every Thursday they meet in the jigsaw room and they tackle trying to figure out unsolved cases, unsolved mysteries. A local developer ends up dead and they decide that they are going to take on this case and figure out what's going on with it. I'm excited to get into this one and not to like put my own expectations on it, because like I want to go into it with like low expectations, but I feel like my expectations are really high because I feel like this could be a 5-star read for me too. I need to not get in my head about it, lower my expectations, and just enjoy it for what it is. So without further ado, let's get to reading. What is it with me consuming media with all these old people solving murder mysteries? Is this my new hyperfixation? First Murder, She Wrote, and now this. Reading update time. I have been eating up this book. It has been delightful. I am on chapter 59, page 183. So far, it's been so much fun. There's so much humor threaded throughout this book, which honestly, going into this book, I was expecting that just because I only know the author from him doing some sort of comedic show, and his humor is definitely reflected in this. It's a little bit on the dry side of things, it's kind of sarcastic, and at times I feel like it can be just a little bit too much, but at the same time, I feel like it's adding this like layer of lightness that this book needs. Like it needs that balance. We've got a bit of a serious situation with this murder mystery happening, and then the author brings in some humor to kind of like level things out, and I really appreciate that. We have a cast of characters that are all rather different, which I knew going in that there was going to be like this unlikely friendship, but they are all vastly different. They all come from like different fields, different pasts, and it's very interesting seeing them like come together and work together. They're not people that would normally hang out outside of this club, but that's what makes it fun, like seeing them come together and work together, sort of put their differences aside and their different personalities and just like work together to solve this mystery. So they normally are trying to solve cases that have gone cold, but this one is an active case, and that sort of adds a bit of intensity because with these other cases they can sort of like remove themselves from it because it's not something that's hitting close to home. This one is hitting a little bit closer to home, and it's just like adding a bit of eeriness and a bit of fear. I would say that this book sort of falls maybe into like the cozy mystery vibe. I have not really explored the cozy mystery genre, so I don't really know exactly what it means for a book to be a cozy mystery, a cozy murder mystery, and I wasn't expecting that going into this book. I thought it was going to have a bit of a more serious edge to it, but I think because of the banter, because of the humor, and even the environment of their retirement home, all those things kind of lend it to being a little bit more of a lighthearted murder mystery. I feel like I could be heading in the direction of a 5-star read with this book. Like so far, I'm landing like on a 4-star rating. There's not really anything that I can necessarily critique about it so far. Like so far, I'm having a good time with it. It just hasn't reached like 5-star level yet, but I feel like the ending, if the ending surprises me or just delivers in a way that I feel satisfied by, I could easily land on a 5-star rating with this book. Like in terms of entertainment level so far, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. In terms of just like the story itself, I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. So we will see how I land with this book. I'm going to Kansas City tomorrow for the day, so I definitely want to make a lot of progress in this. I'm going to be hitting a lot of half-price books tomorrow. That's the goal. We don't have a half-price books here, but there's like 4 locations in the Kansas City area. So I'll be hitting each and every one and trying to track down some good book deals, which I'm very excited about. I want to try and make some decent progress before I head out. So with that, let's get to reading. First, let's make some coffee though, then we'll get around to the reading part. Priorities. Priorities. Reading update time. I finished the Thursday Murder Club and it was so much fun. It was so good. To me, there's just so much to love about this book, and I could get really nitpicky about things. Like there were times when I felt like things were a little bit draggy. It felt like not a lot was going on a few times, but at the same time, my entertainment and my enjoyment of the book sort of overrode any critiques that I had as I was reading. So while I don't think that this book is perfect, I am landing on a 5-star rating. I'm landing on a full-on 5 out of 5 star rating. I wasn't expecting to like start out this video with a 5-star rating, but we'll take it. I will take it. I just felt like the characters were so much fun. They're eccentric, they're different, they're unique, they bring a lot of personality to the table, and I loved the mix of them together. Like I felt like there was just so much banter and humor, and I just loved the uniqueness in terms of each relationship that we see. It's one of those books that had me theorizing the whole way through as to who done it. Of course, I was never able to pick up on who exactly done it, but I really enjoyed that process. I love like when a book is just making me sort of put together in my mind like a board of pictures and tie all these red strings to who might have been responsible. I just like have so much fun with that, which maybe I should get into cozy mysteries. Like maybe that's my next move, honestly, because if this is technically a cozy mystery and I enjoyed it so much, why am I not reading more cozy mystery books? There's sort of this addictive quality that kicks into play in the last 100 pages, which honestly, this entire book, like I had a hard time putting it down as it was. It's a book that's filled with short chapters, so that itself already had me like flipping like crazy because it just like makes me read faster when the chapters are shorter. I'm sure there's some sort of science behind that. And then the pacing itself feels pretty fast, and then because of the fact that you're like bouncing back and forth between different characters, lends to this sort of engaging element where you just have a hard time getting out of it. And when I was out of this book, like I just wanted to be back in it. This is the first in a series and I would like to follow through with this series. I just know that I am not very good at following through a series. I actually think it would be fun to get the rest of the books and then do sort of like a binge situation. Maybe even reread this book because I'm honestly already in the mood to reread it. Who knows? We'll see. Again, on a critical level, this might not be a 5-star rating. I would say on a critical level though, it would be like a 4-star rating, but because I enjoyed it so much, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I got back from Kansas City yesterday and I picked up a few things at half-price books. I'm not going to show you everything I got because I kind of turned into a monster, and like I know that I'm technically on a book buying ban, but I've earned a lot of books from my book buying ban because my book buying ban is a read 3, buy 1 situation, or get rid of 2 books, bring in 1 book situation. So I'm still doing good with the ban, even though it looks like I've been buying books this year. I have been, but that's because I've been earning them, okay? Okay, I just get defensive over my book buying ban, but I'll show you a few things that I got. I got the graphic novel The Montague Twins, The Devil's Music. I read the first one of this earlier this year, and I still haven't picked up a physical copy of it, but I saw this at Half Price Books. It's in pretty decent condition, so I had to pick it up because I loved the first volume so much. I had so much fun with it. It's a bit of a Hardy Boys meets Nancy Drew situation with a bit of a supernatural element flowing through it. So I had a lot of fun with the first one, and I can't wait to read this one. I actually checked this one out from the library at some point, but just was like in a busy season and wasn't able to get around to it, so I had to return it to the library without having read it, so I'm looking forward to giving this a go. Speaking of Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, I picked up more reprints of the first editions of the Nancy Drew series. So we've got The Secret of the Old Clock, which I believe is the first in the series, and then The Hidden Staircase. And then I got some of the Hardy Boys Case Files, which is a spin-off of the Hardy Boys. There's a lot of like Hardy Boys spin-offs and Nancy Drew spin-offs, so I've just been trying to pick up what I can when I can because because I know at some point I'm going to want to get around to these. So I just picked up a few of these for when I get around to them. When I got back from Kansas City, I had a letter from my friend Zach from Shadyside Library. Shout out to Shadyside Library, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. Also, one of my friends, Zach. Go and check him out. I will leave a link down below in the description to his channel. But he sent me some bookmarks that he made. He makes a ton of really fun custom bookmarks, and I'm super excited about these. They arrived at just the right time because it's time to transition into all things spooky. So I'm excited about these. These are going to be my go-to this Halloween season for sure. Okay, enough yapping. Let's go pick out my next read. All right, the next 5-star book prediction comes from SZGATIGRESS 4226. Sisgatigress 4226. Their first 5-star prediction for themselves is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. It's not out yet, so I can't read that one, but the second one that they mentioned is one that I've been wanting to read, and that is The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. The Cemetery Boys is one of my all-time favorite books, and I have yet to read another book by this author just because it scares me, because I feel like they set the bar so high with The Cemetery Boys that it terrifies me to read another book by them, because what if it doesn't hit in the same way that The Cemetery Boys hits, you know? That's what scares me. So I'm going to try to go into this book by lowering my expectations and just hope for the best. But let's talk about what the Sunbearer Trials is even about. In this book, each decade, the sun's power must be replenished. And the way that they do that is by making a sacrifice. So they have these trials called the Sunbearer Trials. 10 worthy contestants will be chosen to compete. And I believe whoever becomes the Sunbearer is looked at as like this huge honor because they will be replenishing the sun, essentially, which is very important. It's very important, okay? We follow our main character Teo as he takes on the trials. That might not be the best description because I don't want to go into this one knowing too much, but hopefully as I read the book, I'll be able to tell you guys a little bit more about it. So without further ado, let's get to reading. Reading update time. I have made it to chapter 15, page 203 in the Sunbearer Trials. Going into this book, I knew that the concept would be fun, but I just had no idea how much it would hit. But friends, it is hitting. It is not a miss. It's been a hit. Smash or pass, I'm smashing. I took that way too far, way too fast. To me, it's this perfect pairing of Percy Jackson and the Hunger Games. That sums it up perfectly in my opinion. Like basically if the capture the flag that goes down in the first Percy Jackson book was expanded with more Hunger Games elements, that's basically what you're getting with this book. Obviously I love the Hunger Games and obviously I love Percy Jackson, so this is just working out so well for me. I'm so enjoying it. I love Teo as our main character. I feel like he is a lovable character. At the start of the book, he really wants nothing to do with the trials, so he's understandably upset when he gets chosen to be a part of it. He truly felt like he had no chance in being a part of it or no chance in being chosen for it, so going into the trials, he is like so unprepared. He is not ready for what is before him. What I am loving about seeing Teo's journey throughout this though is that you really see him start to build his confidence and feel like maybe he has a chance to do well in the trials, whereas before he was just like, I can't do this. Why am I here? Why was I chosen? You see him start to grow and start to realize that maybe he has a chance, maybe he's stronger than he realized, and at the end of the day he should have just been believing in himself from the start, from the get-go. But at the same time, he just needed to challenge himself. He needed to go through some things in order to recognize his own strength, and it's honestly just been such a beautiful journey, like seeing him recognizing that. And just the trials alone are so fun, like mostly just being a reader. Like if I were in Teo's shoes, obviously they would not be fun. I would not be having a good time. Would not be live, laugh, luffing. Would not be live, laugh, loving. Live, laugh, luffing. What does that even mean? Anyway, but just the intensity and the action is so engaging and just like has me not wanting to put this book down. Truthfully, like I don't want to put it down. I've been enjoying it so much. I'm looking forward to getting back into it today. I love competition books as it is, but not all competition books deliver. Some competition books just don't do a good job of like making you feel the intensity or like really putting you in the shoes of the main character. And I feel like that's exactly what we're getting in this book. Like you feel the magnitude of the trials of each trial, and you also are alongside Teo in feeling the nervousness, the anxiety that comes with being a part of this. And I just it's so good. Those are all my thoughts so far, but I'm freaking loving it, and I, again, am excited to read more today. I want to make a lot of progress in this. I feel like there's a chance that I could just bang it out, because honestly, it's just so addicting. Like, when I'm in it, I'm loving it. So, I don't know, could I have another 5-star read on my hands? That would be so exciting. We'll see. Stay tuned. let's get back to reading. I did not expect to go into this video having 2 5-star reads back to back, but I have landed on a 5 out of 5 stars with this book. I'm shook. I loved this book so much. I'm glad that I was able to bump it up my TBR through this video, so thank you to the person that submitted it. Not that I don't trust you guys, but like the likelihood of our reading taste aligning is rather slim. Oftentimes I will get comments from you guys being like, we don't even really have the same reading taste, I just enjoy the reading vibes and I get motivated to read, which is great. You're all welcome here. We don't have to have the same reading taste for you to watch my videos, so consider me shocked that I'm landing on another 5-star rating in this video already. We're 2 books in. Can we go 3 for 3? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Even though I bought these books with good intentions, like I bought the Thursday Murder Club and I bought the Sunbearer Trials, thinking that they might be books that I would enjoy, thinking that they could potentially be 5-star reads for myself, because I don't ever buy a book with an ill intention. I tend to gravitate towards books that I think I'm going to like. Now, sometimes I'll buy a book and be excited about it, and then I'll see a negative review and be like, okay, now I'm feeling a little bit hesitant. Now I'm feeling a little bit wary. Or I will buy a book with good intentions, thinking that I'm getting something very specific, and the author doesn't deliver what I'm wanting, and so obviously, like, things can change, perspectives can change. Sometimes I'll even buy books and not read them right away, and then, like, the longer I am apart from that book, the harder it is for me to want to pick it up and read it. Or I feel like my reading taste have changed, so when I come back to that book, I am not as interested anymore. Anyway, I'm seeing myself fall down a rabbit hole, so I'm gonna reel it back in. Let's talk about this book. I loved it so much. There was an element in this book that I didn't fully grasp until we got to the end. Now, I will say I kind of figured where things were going to go pretty early on. Specifically, when we get into the trials, I'm like, I feel like I know where this is going to go. And you might be able to predict what's going to happen pretty early on in the book. That doesn't take away from the enjoyment because there's so much to love about this book. But I didn't realize the weight that came with being a Sunbearer until we got to the end. Going into this book, I thought that the Sunbearer themselves would become the sacrifice, and I thought that that's why our main character, Teo, like, didn't want to be a part of the Sunbearer trials. Teo was such a fun character to follow throughout this. He's someone that I easily found myself rooting for. He's sort of an underdog, though I feel like we truly see him find himself throughout this book and start to believe in himself, and that was such a beautiful journey to follow, because going into the trials, like, he does not feel prepared at all. He sort of resents the trials, and going into it, you feel this sort of self-consciousness. Like, he feels like all the other competitors are these sharks that are ready to take on the competition, and he's just like a little goldfish just trying to figure out what to do. He's the son, I'm gonna mispronounce this, I know. Quetzal. He's the son of Quetzal, who is the goddess of birds, and I loved that aspect of it. He has wings, which I love, and he's also able to communicate with birds. I just thought that that element was really fun and added just a lot of personality to his character. I just love the wings in general as well. I loved that aspect of his character. I thought that was so much fun, and I loved seeing those come into play from time to time in the trials. The entire cast of characters are honestly fantastic. You've got strong characters with attitude and sass like Nia. You've got a sibling pairing who at first you might feel some kind of way about. You might not really be on their side, but I feel like the more you get to know them, you kind of unveil all their layers. And there are several other fantastic characters that you will just, by the end of it, realize that you've grown such a deep love for. The world is very extensive and you get to see quite a bit of it, which I loved. And I have no notes, honestly. Like, I'm leaving this book being like, perfection, amazing, iconic, I love it. We'll be recommending this left and right the rest of this year, so prepare yourself for that. I need to get my hands on book 2 as soon as possible, even if I'm not like planning to read it right away. I need it. I just need to have access to it at all times, you know? But this is a duology, so I don't want it to be over too quickly. I kind of want to like savor this situation, because I loved this so much. I can't believe how much I loved this. Okay, enough about me raving and ranting about how great this book is. Let's go find out what our last book is going to be, our last read for this video. Let's go. Alright, the last subscriber 5-star prediction comes from Canadian Chipmunk. Their 5-star prediction for themselves is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit hesitant about this book because I know it's a cozy fantasy, and I've been kind of like up and down with cozy fantasy. I didn't really love Legends and Lattes, and I say I didn't really love it. I haven't finished it. I have like 30 pages left. I've been putting it off because I just wasn't enjoying it, and I don't enjoy being somebody that has like an unpopular opinion about a book. Like, it's not fun for me when like everyone ever seems to be loving a book and I'm over here like, hey, not enjoying this. Is there something wrong with me? So I didn't love Legends and Lattes, but the Monk and Robot series, I'm pretty sure that is considered to be cozy fantasy. Like, I would consider it cozy fantasy. I really loved it. It was so good. I feel like I have had some negative feelings about cozy fantasy, and then I've had some like positive feelings about cozy fantasy. So I just am feeling a little bit hesitant. And I feel like this book in particular, let me grab it. Where do I even have it? Somewhere on my bookshelf. Here we go. Can't spell treason without T. The thing about this book is that I feel like it has a very similar vibe to Legends and Lattes. It follows a female-female relationship. We've got Raina, who worked for the Queen, and she has decided to leave that world behind because she just is tired of being controlled. And then we've got Keany, who is the most powerful mage in existence, apparently, and she has been wanting to kind of have a fresh start as well. So together, they go off and decide to open up a bookshop, tea shop bookshop situation, which feels very similar to Legends and Lattes. And truthfully, I can't put my finger on what I didn't love about Legends and Lattes, but there was just something about it that I was not connecting with. I feel like that book honestly deserves for me to like reread the section that I already read of that book, just to kind of get to the bottom of like what wasn't working for me. I bought this book quite a while ago when cozy fantasy was like starting to become a bigger thing, because I wanted to do a video where I read a bunch of cozy fantasy books and ranked them, but I never got around to doing that because I started reading Legends and Lattes and it was like, oh, is cozy fantasy not for me? So I have several other cozy fantasy books that I have not gotten around to yet, and this is one of them, but I definitely want to give this a shot and just see how I feel. I believe this is even like the self-published version of this book. It's since been picked up by Tor, I believe, and it has these like really nice blue sprayed edges. I just have the plain Jane edges, but that's okay with me. Without further ado, let's get to reading. Reading update time. I have made it to chapter 18, page 205, and consider me shocked that I am having a good time with this book. I went into this book with a bit of a tude. I'll be the first to admit that. I just don't know if I'm a cozy fantasy girly. It sounds really appealing to me, like the idea of just like vibing, just chilling, just hanging out in a fantasy world. Like that sounds really fun to me. I would enjoy doing that, but I don't know if it like translates well for me in terms of like a story. But also maybe I shouldn't just completely write off a genre just because I had one bad experience with the book, one bad experience with cozy fantasy. I'm really enjoying the characters in this one. It's a little bit more on the romance heavy side of things, but there's quite a bit going on in both of the characters' worlds, and Raina and how do you say her name? Keany, I think that's how you say her name. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but Raina and Keany, they both have a lot going on, and I think that that's what's making everything really interesting. Raina has been under control of the Queen for so long, and she's never had a chance to really like understand who she is outside of that control. So we're following her on that journey of like finally getting her first taste of freedom, albeit she's not like fully free. She still has ties to the Queen. She still has ties to the kingdom. And I'm just loving following Raina on that journey and seeing her figure out who she is. I love me a self-discovery storyline. I'm all about that. And then again, we've got Keany, who is one of the world's like most powerful mages. I feel like I'm not as connected with Keany, but I do like her passion and drive. And I feel like she is doing a really good job of like connecting with people in the town that they're currently in. I think the reason this book is actually going quite well for me is because there's a lot going on. And reading this almost makes me wonder if this has been misplaced, miscategorized as cozy fantasy. Because I feel like typically a cozy fantasy is, again, just the fantasy backdrop and we're just chilling. We're just vibing. But in here, there's a lot of plot points. There's a lot going on. And there's this like eeriness, this unease, because the girls are technically still connected to the kingdom. They're still connected to the Queen. And that is almost bringing in this sort of uncomfortable feeling, because you know that at any point they could have to go back to their old lives. There's a chance that they'll have to go back to their old lives and maintain the ties that they have. Now, there is still some coziness tucked away in this book. Obviously, like the tea shop, the bookshop, like that whole situation really is bringing in some coziness. I feel like the town folk are really nice and just bring in like a warm feeling. And also the atmosphere itself is really cozy. And for the most part, the process of them like working on the shop has been cozy, except for the fact that like they had to like deal with bandits in getting the building. So there is some coziness, but there's also like a lot going on with the plot and some things that feel could be high intensity, I guess. Like I just feel like those things aren't really adding up with like the cozy fantasy vibe. But overall, I'm enjoying this book. I'm having a good time with it. So far for me, it hasn't reached 5-star quality. That could easily turn around in this last little chunk, but currently, my current state of mind, I am like on a 3.5, 4 out of 5 stars. That's where I'm feeling so far. I'm getting ready to go to the comic book store because it's Comic Book Wednesday. I feel like I go to the comic book store every Wednesday. That's typically when they have new releases, I believe. So I like to just go and peruse. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy anything, but I am putting myself in a position that makes me want to buy things. So might not be the smartest move for me, but it is a move I'm gonna make. Let's go to the comic book store and let's get back to reading. Before I get into the reading update, I've got a bit of a haul for you guys, a book haul, comic book haul. I stopped by Barnes & Noble yesterday and picked up Celestial Monsters. I just had to have it. I just need it. Even if I'm not planning to read it right away, I just need to have this in my possession for when I get the urge to read it. I feel like I might pick this up in November. I'm kind of like transitioning into spooky reads right now for the Halloween season. So I want to save this for November, I think. I think November would be a good time to finish a lot of duologies that I've started. Now for the comic book haul, I did go for a specific reason. There was something that came out that I wanted. And then of course I ended up with a few other things because that's just how it goes. The thing that I went to get is the Graveyard Club. This is by R.L. Stine and a couple other collaborators. And I have been picking up a lot of Goosebumps books and I've just been like in the R.L. Stine mood, okay? I've just been wanting to read more of his stuff, so I've been picking up a lot of his stuff recently. Then I got issue number 3 of Epitaphs from the Abyss. This is a classic horror feeling comic book series, and I'm super excited about it. And in this series, Cruel Universe, I know nothing about, but I just really liked the vibes. Like I was flipping through and I just really enjoyed what it was delivering on the page, so I just decided to go ahead and pick it up. But it looks like some interesting science-y things happen. We've got some dinosaurs, we've got space, we've got lots of stuff. I'm doing such a great job of describing these comics to you guys. Finally, reading update time. I finished Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, and I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. Consider me confused, because y'all know I went into this book feeling some kind of way about it, but like maybe feeling some kind of way about it was the way to go about it, because I lowered my expectations in doing that. But I loved following Raina and Keany's relationship. I loved seeing the hardships that they go through. It's not a relationship that is presented in this perfect light. Like they clearly have some issues within their relationship, and we see those little moments throughout the book. We see just how much they care about each other. Like there's one moment where one of them falls sick and we see the other one just like caring for the other one with so much love and just being really concerned. Going into this book, their relationship is already established, so you're not really going through the motions of like seeing them come together. You already know them as a unit, and so I really liked that aspect of it. I think I typically prefer that with romance books. I feel like I personally just don't enjoy reading about the falling in love bits when it comes to like romance. Like I often feel like it just comes across as really cringe. I'm not saying every book ever does it that way, but like a lot of the books that I've read where two characters are falling in love, like it just makes me feel uncomfortable and cringe. So this was definitely a lot more intense than I was expecting it to be too. I kind of went in thinking that it would be much more of a quiet book, considering the fact that I knew it was going to be a cozy fantasy, but it brings in some chaotic moments here and there, and also just has moments of like unease sprinkled throughout it. I feel like there's just kind of like shadow looming, knowing that the girls still are kind of connected to the kingdom and have ties with the kingdom, even though they are trying to like break off and go live their lives and do their own thing. So I think that that just added a bit of unease throughout the book. But honestly, I think that that balance worked out so well for me. Like I feel like there were definitely like cozy moments, and then there were chaos moments. So it's like a cozy chaos fantasy, and that I really enjoyed. But I feel like you could just call that like a fantasy book, because there are a lot of fantasy books out there that have really chaotic things going on, but they still have those elements of cozy. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Now, my biggest complaint with this book was the ending. It was just so unbelievable. It was eye-roll worthy, and I felt like we're kind of like building up to that, not necessarily throughout the whole book, but there is that sense of like drain in the air, and it just felt like quite a bit of build up to this thing that just came together so seamlessly, you know? I just wanted more conflict, but maybe that's why this is a cozy fantasy. Overall, I did have a good time with this book. I think I'm landing on like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think that that's pretty solid, a pretty solid way to put it for me. I did enjoy it a lot more than I was expecting to, but it definitely had elements that I needed a little bit more from. Just some things that didn't align with my preferences. But overall, had a great time with this book. Thank you to the person that suggested this as their 5-star prediction. I hope it ends up being a 5-star read for you. And with that, it is time to do a bit of a ranking moment. I'm going to rank the books from best to worst. This is going to be a little bit difficult because obviously I die hard loved both the Sunbearer Trials and the Thursday Murder Club. But I think the Sunbearer Trials, I connected a lot more with the characters. Like, these are the type of characters that just like dig their way into your heart and just like rest there. Like, I will be carrying these characters with me through life now. That's so dramatic, but you get what I'm saying. Like, these characters I really love, but it's just like a different situation. Like, I just feel like I'm a ride or die for these guys, and like, I'm a ride for these guys, but I don't know if I would die for these guys. So, with that being said, the Sunbearer Trials comes in first place. Then we've got the Thursday Murder Club. I had so much fun with this one. I'm excited to keep reading in this series at some point. And then at the bottom of my rankings, we've got Can't Spell Treason Without T. That's where I'm landing with these books, and that brings us to a close with this vlog. But I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. Did you give them a 5-star rating? Did you not give them a 5-star rating? Let me know down below in the comments. But if you haven't read any of these books, then just let me know down below in the comments a book that you have on your TBR that you think is going to be a 5 out of 5-star read. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.